Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I'm the Parent Support Worker for the Niagara Catholic District School Board EarlyON Child and Family Center. I'm here today for our weekly coffee and conversation in which all parents, grandparents, guardians, and caregivers are welcome. Our program topics revolve around ensuring you feel well, confident, and present in your parenting and caregiving role. As always, if you are unable to sit with me now, you are welcome to warm up your coffee or tea and sit with me at a more convenient time. Our video content is available on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, so be sure to follow and subscribe to stay up to date with our videos. So the past few weeks, we've been focusing on the Kids Have Stress 2 program in hopes to better understand our children's stress. So to do this, we started by looking at what stress really is, and then continued on to consider some developmental influences on stress. More specifically, we talked about social emotional learning, self-regulation, attachment, temperament, gender, self-esteem, and resilience. So as children develop, their early emotional experiences literally become embedded into their architecture of their brains. And therefore, it's incredibly important that you are here listening and learning for your little one. What I want to focus on now is the Kids Have Stress 2 program, more specifically by considering their 8 key concepts, the program rationale, and their means of explaining stress, which they use the Stress Stoplight. So to begin, they offer 8 key concepts that become essential building blocks in recognizing, understanding, and dealing with childhood stress. So let's take a quick look at these 8 key concepts. Number 1, practitioners, teachers, and parents, as well as caregivers, can help children learn to manage stress. So in a few weeks, we will be considering some stress management strategies that you can use with your children. If you are able to continuously practice these strategies with your children, you'll help them to understand how to move from a stressed state to a more calm state. And they'll be able to do this on their own with the tools that you provide them over the next few weeks. So this point stands true. Number 2, there are signs or symptoms of too much stress. As we discussed in a previous week, stress influences a physiological response. So we might see physical, mental, emotional, and behavioral changes in our kids if they're feeling stress. We'll discuss these signs and symptoms of stress in more depth next week. But you should focus on observing your children and learning to recognize their individual stress symptoms. And notice when those symptoms persist over a period of time, or notice if their behavior changes, if there are behavioral changes that are unusual or prolonged. You are the experts on your children, so you know them best. You'll know if something is out of norm for your child. Number 3, children who can recognize, acknowledge, and express their feelings appropriately will cope better with stress. We've considered this point many times within our coffee and conversations. We want to give our children the vocabulary to accurately depict what they are feeling on the inside so that they know how to deal with it. A headache can't be fixed with some kid Tylenol if they have a headache because they are stressed. We can explain this to our children, like, maybe your head hurts a little today because you were up all night nervous about going to school today. Can we try reading a story together this evening to help you sleep better? And remember, children are learning about emotions by watching how you handle your feelings. So it's important that you're always being vocal about these emotions and what you're going through on a daily basis. Number 4, relaxation strategies can reduce a child's reaction to stress. So learning to counteract the stress response by using relaxation strategies is a very valuable skill that children can learn and practice throughout their lives. And as we said, you have the power to ensure that they are able to do this on their own. And this idea of relaxation strategies is something that we've practiced together as a group, so to speak, in our practice of meditation, our practice of yoga, our practice of breathing techniques. These are all examples of relaxation strategies that we've done to reduce our own stress. Number 5, with help, children can learn how to solve problems. Quite simply put, problems create stress, and resolving problems reduce stress. So this lifelong lesson of solving problems is super important. It can help our children gain emotional control. It can help them understand that they have choices, and it can help affect positive outcomes. So we will be offering some problem-solving strategies in a couple weeks with our coffee and conversation, so stay tuned for that. Number 6, there are simple ways to create a less stressful environment for children. As parents, it can be helpful for you to examine daily schedules and routines and take action to reduce trouble spots. So you can also consider your home play area as well to make sure that it is calm and relaxing space, free of clutter and all of those sorts of things. So evaluate how your child is feeling in their day-to-day routines and see if there's any hiccup points. Perhaps they get a little bit stressed when you're moving from one activity to the next. How can we create a better transition between activities? Number 7, when children speak harshly or critically to themselves, they create more stress. Using a positive voice can lower stress. So self-talk is a very important thing in everything that we do. It's the internal dialogue we have with ourselves, the voice inside our heads. We engage in self-talk all the time, much like an internal radio station that's always on. When children speak harshly or critically to themselves, they create more stress, and therefore it's important to teach children to be positive about how they talk to themselves. For example, changing the dialogue from "I always lose" to "well, sometimes I win," and using those types of spins on the way that we think about ourselves. And our final one, number 8, physical activity is a proven strategy for coping with stress and promoting self-regulation. So a big component of this is that if children learn from a young age that play and movement can relieve stress and enhance mood, it will help them to sustain those patterns later on in life, making for a healthier adult as well. And there are ways to get physically active indoor with our kids in the winter. We can have freeze dance parties, or perhaps we can get a mini indoor trampoline. You know what excites your kids outside, so during these winter months, try to bring that excitement and outdoor activity inside for them as well. So these were important to review because they are the guiding principles for the Kids Have Stress 2 program and can be your guiding principles while you take this journey in supporting your children. Alongside these guiding principles is the Kids Have Stress 2 rationale for why we want to learn about children's stress. So let's look at these. Starting with the first point, stress is a normal part of everyday life. It helps to motivate us, it adds spice or challenge to our lives. However, too much stress can be counterproductive and overwhelming. This is something we've discussed in the past. Number 2, life is just more complicated today. There is more stress in everyday life. Even before the pandemic began, professionals such as doctors, social workers, nurses, and teachers said that children appeared to have more stress. So of course, we know that the added uncertainty and pressure of a pandemic will contribute to that stress. And stress for children can cause problems. Stress can make it hard for students to concentrate on their schoolwork. It can make it more difficult for them to get along with others, and it can affect their overall health. Number 3, childhood is a time for learning. When children experience too much stress, they find it hard to learn. So strong feelings, fears, or frustrations, they can all interfere with their ability to think. If children are afraid or anxious, they may spend so much energy worrying that they are unable to learn. Children need to have strategies to deal with stress and its emotional reactions so that they're still able to learn and grow within life effectively. Number 4, learning coping skills provides young children with important tools for life. Many children find 1 or 2 strategies to help them deal with stress. One child may talk over the problem with a parent or friend. Another might throw or kick a ball to release some stress physically. So some children might develop counteractive or counterproductive strategies, such as physical aggression, which could look like hitting, kicking, or hurting others, or verbal aggression, such as screaming or swearing. And sometimes children will just imitate the strategies that their parents use. So our children are very observant of our behavior and frequently copy what they see us doing. So if we are coping with our stress inappropriately, then they may pick up some of those same habits. So these strategies that I'm providing you in the weeks ahead should be something that you incorporate into your daily life as well, not only to help with your own stress, but to also model good coping strategies for your kids. Number 5, parents and caregivers can help children manage stress. There are a variety of skills that parents and caregivers can teach their children to help manage their stress. This is pretty straightforward. And number 6, parents know their children better than anyone else. I've said this many times before. You are the best teachers for your children. You know your child best. You are the expert and all of those wonderful things. So trust your instincts, listen to yourself, and you'll be able to support your child better than you might think. And all of this makes sense, right? If you're listening today and have been listening for the past few weeks, then you already know the importance of focusing on your children's stress. And I commend you for that. It's important to recognize that you have the ability to help your children learn ways to manage their stress. Now that we have 2 solid lists that essentially pat ourselves on the back for being present and taking in this knowledge to help our kids with their stress, we can start to focus on kids' stress more specifically and learn some strategies. So we'll start and finish this week with the Kids Have Stress 2 Stoplight. This is a tool we can use to help our kids visualize and manage stress. So in learning to manage stress, we need to know when we are feeling stressed. The feelings that help us to recognize stress can be used as a cue or sign that we need to change what we are doing. When we are feeling stressed, we can use a range of strategies to start relaxing. And to explain this to our children, we can use the image of a traffic light. And it can be really valuable for you to use this tool in a concrete way. So for example, perhaps you can create an activity that incorporates these 3 colors to help our visual learners. You know, you've got the red light, the yellow light, and the green light. Let's make some sort of activity with those colors. So in this stoplight, red is for stress, yellow is for change, and green is for coping successfully with stress. So an example of an activity might be playing a hopscotch game with colored circles. So on the red circle, your child has to make a stressed face. They then hop to the yellow circle and practice 3 deep breaths on the yellow circle. And then they can jump to the green circle and they can have a really big smile. So they can see how they went from the red light, which was stress, to coping within the yellow light so that they feel ready and happy to go at the green light. So using this image of a stoplight is not unique to Kids Have Stress 2. If you're familiar with the Zones of Regulation by Leah Coopers, it's actually something we discussed in previous Coffee and Conversations. She also uses a stoplight to help demonstrate these big concepts to children. So utilizing the stoplight helps children to recognize that they don't have to remain in the red or stressed state. Instead, they can utilize strategies at the yellow light to get them from red to green. As mentioned, we'll look into these strategies in weeks to come, but the goal here is to get the child to the green light where they feel calmer and better able to cope. So that's just an overview of what the stoplight is. We will use it to guide our strategies in future weeks. That's all we're going to go over today. Next week, we will prepare ourselves for strategies by learning more about children's specific stress. So we'll discuss the different kinds of stress, signs of stress, stressors, and productive versus counterproductive strategies that children may already use. Be on the lookout for mindful mini activities tomorrow. Our ECE Diane will be providing a poster of our Stress Stoplight and some really great activities to get your children thinking about this transition from the red light to the green light. So she has some great activities for you to try. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.